And again, I do want to welcome and thank you all for coming to this long-awaited ceremony to officially recognize the donation of the 2 pickleball courts to my right by George and Sharon Vanderheiden. Many of you use these courts on a regular basis, sometimes every day, because pickleball has become such an addictive and enjoyable pastime that this end of Foss Field has become our Disneyland. Disneyland's founder, when asked what prompted him to create such a fun-filled family environment, was often heard to say, "Well, it all began with a mouse." For we in Wolfeboro, it all began with George. Almost 10 years ago, our friend George developed an addiction, really, to the sport of pickleball when he and Sharon began to play in their winter home in Arizona. But upon his return to our home here in New Hampshire, George's passion prompted him to say, why not bring pickleball here as well? So in 2014, George and some of his friends approached the Wolfeboro Parks and Recreation Director, who at the time was Ethan Hiffel, and asked about introducing this sport right here. Ethan liked the idea, but he lacked the budget. George said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it personally." His initial gift with some friends was just some temporary nets. But with that initial gift, he planted a seed that grew and blossomed. Interest in pickleball reached the point where temporary nets were not enough to accommodate the demand. George realized that the pickleball players wanted and needed something better. So George, of course with Sharon's support, took the next step. He appeared before the Board of Selectmen to present the benefits of pickleball, emphasizing that this sport is an activity for seniors and juniors alike, that it is a sport that merges athletic activity with social activity. It allows the very young to play with the very old. It encourages people of all ages to have fun together. George told the selectmen that he so strongly believed in what pickleball could do for our community that he would finance these 2 courts himself. In essence, George, like Kevin Costner in the movie A Field of Dreams, said, "If you let me build it, they will come." And come they did. In the beginning, only a few of the locals were bitten by the pickleball bug. Soon, though, the few became a few dozen. But growth became so rapid that with George's gift as the catalyst, interest expanded to the point where pickleball clubs were formed and tournament-level competition became a part of what this town of Wolfeboro now has to offer. In 2015, 20 players from Moultonborough battled right here with 20 players from Wolfeboro to compete in a one-day mixed double event. And what was the prize? Several hours of good sportsmanship, lots of laughs, and some Bailey Bubbles ice cream for the winners. From that first tournament of just 40 players, Wolfeboro now has a tournament that attracts almost 400 players every year. Pro clinic offerings to include national level-up training camps, free lessons and clinics to local players, social events to ensure that pickleball socialization happens both on and off the courts, and all because it started with George. Remember last year's tournament social event at the Wright Museum? We had docent-led tours, we had a Beatles look-alike, sound-alike band for dancing, and lots of food. Who set that up? George. The prior year, the social event was a 2-hour cruise of Lake Winnipesaukee that included a private fireworks display off the shorefront home of one of the best places in Wolfeboro. Who set that up? George. And not to be overlooked, down the road a few miles is another athletic facility called the Nick. Who helped create it? George. Who helped fund it? George. Over the years, many groups and activities have turned to George and Sharon for inspiration and support. Today, this organization, your organization, the New Hampshire Lakes Region Pickleball Club, plans to offer to George and Sharon just a few items to show our gratitude for what they did to get us started. So Sharon and George, please step forward, accompanied by pickleball members Joyce Lake and John DeForno. For the 2022 season of pickleball tournaments, the first mixed doubles award goes to George and Sharon Vanderheiden. Please accept these gold medals in token recognition of the winning team that the two of you have been and continue to be in the eyes of your families, your friends, and all of us here today. Please know that in the view of the grateful people of Wolfeboro here today, you will remain first place forever in our hearts. And also for Sharon and for George, we have the latest product, Signature Edition Ben John's Julep Pickleball Paddles. May the two of you partner together evermore. And for George, in recognition of what you have done for organized pickleball in our club, please accept this hat, embroidered to read, New Hampshire Lakes Region Pickleball Club, founding member, George Vanderheiden. Now lastly, if Joyce and John will step behind the sign for the unveiling. And as they take it off, I'll read to you what it says if you can't see from your distance. The George Vanderheiden Pickleball Courts. George Vanderheiden is considered by many to be the father of Wolfeboro pickleball. Having promoted this sport for many years, in 2015, George donated the funds to provide dedicated pickleball courts for the town of Wolfeboro's residents and visitors. George's contribution to Wolfeboro led to the formation of local pickleball clubs and enabled Foss Field to become the site of the first USA Pickleball Sanctioned Tournament in New Hampshire. These courts are reflective of his sportsmanship and generosity, and they serve as testimony to the fact that George is one of the most beloved benefactors of Wolfeboro parks and recreation programs. These courts are dedicated in his name. George has given me permission to add one more comment about what he and Sharon are doing for this town. On August 17th, George has authorized me to make a petition to the Board of Selectmen to fund new pickleball courts, 8 new pickleball courts plus an indoor facility for wintertime use. And it all began with George. It's not a microphone, George. It's on TV.
Oh, on the TV, okay. At the Nick, there's a bench that's inscribed, "The work of children is fun." And is there anything more joyful seeing a bunch of kids running around, laughing and connecting with each other? Yes, there is one thing. It's a bunch of seniors running around, laughing and connecting with each other. I'm a big believer in physical activity and having fun. And it's, you know, as we get older, we get tied down with all these things, connected with our lives, our families, but the fun factor seems to go down. And pickleball has really brought that back. You know, to be our age and have so much fun out here is really a joy. And you know, when I first got introduced to the sport, I was hooked and really obsessed with it. And I'd wear my pickleball shirt around the house during the day. And at night, before I went to bed, I'd be lying in bed thinking of how I could improve my dink shot or the third shot drop, you know, going through all these scenarios in my mind. But it's so addictive. But I think I want to also say that the three J's, Joe, Joyce, and John, were so instrumental too. John with his sign-up genius, Joe organizing all these tournaments and the countless hours he's put into it, and Joyce, how she got so many sponsors from the town to adopt the sport. I mean, they did an incredible job. And like Joe said, we were just the catalyst. It was your enthusiasm for the sport that made it grow into what it is. And I just consider myself lucky to have met you all and played with you all on these courts.
Same here, George.
Thank you. And over the years, I guess it's about 8 or 9 years since I've been playing, I haven't got much better than mediocre. But to me, this recognition is a 5.0, and I thank you for that. So rock on, pickleball. Rock on, Wolfeboro.